Parkhouse Rugby Show is proudly sponsored by Autism Friendly Caravans Blackpool, where every day there is a new adventure.
My name is Ian Smith, and before we get started, please head over to the YouTube comments if you've anything to say. And also don't forget to like and subscribe.
We recently saw the introduction of 2 new members to the disciplinary panel. What will be their role?
They're side panel members. So basically you've got the match review panel, which is made up of 4 ex-players. And they will look at every incident in Super League over a weekend, all the incidents of foul play. And then they will grade it, and they will grade A is 0 to 1, or they'll decide that there's no further action. And that'll all be catalogued and minuted. And then if they give a player a grade B and he gets 2 matches, and he decides that I'm not happy with that, I think the grading's too high, or I think I'm not guilty, they will appeal. And when they go to appeal, then there's an independent judge and 2 side panel members. So these new additions, one being Leon Price, they're side panel members, so they will sit on the appeals committee. So like Luke Gale last week, I think he run into the referee and he got 2 matches, and he appealed, and it got reduced by the judge and the side panel members to 1. So that's their job. That's nothing to do with the match review panel. Them panel members have not changed. These are side panel members.
Excellent, thank you. So the system currently uses grading. How does that grading work? I hear a lot about the grading, grade A, grade B, and so on. How does that work?
Well, basically, each bit of foul play will come under a category, and that category will end up having a grading. So this is really topical, and this is where most people fall out over, because if I won't punch you, but just say that I punched you.
Yeah.
That could come under a grade A, a grade B, a grade C. Now, some of it is depending on with force. Is it sustained? Is it violent? And do I cause you an injury? You know, because I could punch you and I won't even mess your hair up, or I could punch you and I could break your cheekbone and break your jaw.
Yeah.
So that will show force. And people sometimes see the minutes and they'll say, well, he's got no further action for a punch, and he's got 3 matches for a punch. It's because, one was delivered with force and caused an injury, and the other wasn't. And then you get the argument, well, it shouldn't be injury based, but the injury will determine the force.
Yes.
You know, and then is it repeated?
Intent.
Is it force? Yeah. Is it careless? Is it reckless? Is it deliberate? So you've all these things thrown into the mix, and then the 4 experts and the match review panel will decide what grading that charge, that foul play deserves. Yeah. So there is a lot of thought and a lot of process that goes into it, but ultimately it's still opinion of 4 people that decide whether it becomes an A, B, C, no further action, or a D, etc., etc. And you'll never please anybody, because people will always watch it and always look out for the match review panel notes with vested interest, whether you're a Saints fan, a Hull fan, a Leeds fan, whatever, because of the consequences for their team.
Yeah, I suppose I have seen people run 40 yards from the other side of the pitch to throw 4 or 5 punches at someone they don't like. And I've seen someone on the floor after a tackle trying to get someone off a quick jab, which hasn't done any harm. You could argue both those are punches, but obviously the intent and everything else around it is a lot different. Hence why it can appear to be inconsistent, but the other factors that you've spoke about show that there's a process to follow to make that judgment. It's never always going to be 100% accurate. I don't think anything ever is, but it's as close as it can be to accurate following the procedure and the process.
I think because, as you know, every tackle in rugby league, every fight, every punch, every little misdemeanour, there's that little nuance, there's that little difference. Is it direct contact? Is it secondary contact? Is it delivered with force? Is it delivered by somebody who's 120 kgs or somebody who's 70 kgs? You know, so the amount of power that they can generate, you know, does that make it right? Does it not? How far have they run? How much have they thought about it? Is it careless? So there is so many things that are thrown into that mix, Dave. And I think they do. I know I'm probably going to come in some grief here, but I genuinely do think they do a really good job.
A ref coming in for grief? Never. So the panel will look at incidents that are on report. Will they also look at incidents that weren't on report that you may have missed or refs may have missed during the game? Oh,
absolutely. In Super League in particular, each match reviewer will have a full game, and they will go through the full 80 minutes, and they will pick up any little bit of foul play, any little throws, any little wrestle techniques, and they will bring that to the four of them will bring it to the table on a Monday or a Tuesday, and they will look at each incident. So the Super League, each foul play is dealt with. In Championship, it's either on report by the referee, a sin bin, a send-off, or what the coaches might refer. The coaches might phone the match review panel and say, there was an incident in the 57th minute, a tackle which I'm not really happy with. It wasn't dealt with appropriately. Could you look at it? And also the referee on review, when he's reviewing his own performance, might think, do you know something? I think that needs looking at. So that's different in Championship and League One than it is in Super League. Until you get to the playoffs, then it all comes under the same umbrella.
Same process. Fans often criticise or claim that there's inconsistencies, quite large inconsistencies, and it's all the time. Do you think that's a fair criticism?
No, I think it's unfair. I think because of what I just mentioned about all the little nuances and all the little idiosyncrasies that makes one more violent than the other, or one not guilty and one's guilty. So they do throw all that into the mix. I've seen that process many times, and yeah, they might get some wrong, but on the whole, I really do think they're as consistent as they possibly can be on a high impact collision sport where, you know, the difference between eye tackling on the shoulder is literally a fraction of an inch.
It's minute, isn't it? It's minute. There've been quite a few fines handed out recently where coaches or senior staff at clubs have been talking publicly quite negatively about the panel or refereeing decisions. I'm just going to read one of those out to you now. Richard Agar said that the panel was made up of 2 ex-League players and they play Leeds next week, inferring, I suggest, that they may prefer to ban a Leeds player, knowing that they're coming up against their old club afterwards, therefore giving their old club an advantage.
I would like to think Richard Agar said that more out of emotion and maybe out of a little bit of tongue-in-cheek than genuinely believe that. Match review panel, side panel members, referees, touch judges, they have no vested interest on the outcome of that result, or the following, you know, to think, oh, right, who's my team? Who's the team that I used to play for playing next week? Therefore, I'll give them a longer ban to give my ex-club a chance of winning. Seems bizarre. So I'm sure Richard Agar, once when he got out of the room and he had a thought about what he inferred, he probably regretted it, and it's cost him £1,000, so he'll definitely regret it.
No one likes to pay out £1,000, do they? He did go on to say that they did follow the rules and do it correctly. So it seems a bit of a contradiction to say that the first bit. So yeah, I think it's a bit odd. And do you think it's right that we find coaches who come out and make those negative comments?
I think there has to be consequences. You can't just allow anybody carte blanche to say whatever they want without any consequences. And the consequence for that was £1,000 fine, 500 suspended for, I think, a year. I'm not quite sure, but no, if you don't have any punishment, then it just gives them carte blanche to say anything. And we always find that a financial punishment always seems to help.
Concentrate the mind a little bit, yeah. I think sometimes what we see in here, particularly quite quickly after the game, is, or even in the planning before a game, it's a bit like the Alex Ferguson, who I think was famous for it, playing mind games. And if you're quite critical over the panel in a subconscious way, or if you criticise a referee, it takes the focus away from your team, takes the focus away from you, and it pressurises the panel and the referee on the pitch to think, just a minute, I can't be favouring this team over this team because they've said they've had a rough deal last week, so I need to balance that rough deal out. Do you think there's some of that possibly at play?
Yeah, quite possibly. I can always remember some of the criticism that I used to receive. It was probably not necessarily about that game. It was about next time I had that team again. You know, so like you say, it was in your mind, you know, actually it was a harsh run last time. And, you know, they just want these little 50-50s, and they can just drop that little seed of doubt, either in the match review panel, in the disciplinary panel, in the referees, just that little seed of doubt that maybe next time when it's a click of a finger or just a little decision, it might go their way.
Yeah.
It never does, but if they believe that that's right, then so be it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think sometimes, though, it puts undue pressure on the panel and the referees, and if every coach and every team started to do it more often, it can also build in some of those fears for fans, thinking that they're victims as well. And it just creates a lack of trust, I believe. It discredits the panel and referees even further and creates more distrust in the fans.
Look, everybody has a conspiracy theory, don't they? Or no Wigan plays there again, or if he played for Leeds, he'd get this and the other.
Yeah.
And the conspiracy theories are what makes rugby league such a talked about sport and a love sport. And there's got to be enjoy the banter and have a laugh with it, and but nobody has an agenda. Referees don't go out there with an agenda who they want to win. It's about their performance because they want to be on the panel next week. We saw the last 2 or 3 weeks, referees have been dropped, video refs have been dropped for mistakes. So I wanted to be the best referee I could be because I wanted to have a Super League game the following week, not because I wanted Leeds, Wigan, Hull, whoever to win, because I genuinely couldn't care less. But fans with conspiracy theories genuinely believe that there are agendas against their team, and it's quite funny at times.
Well, I've got some Mythbusters for you, Ian. A couple of points there that you've not seen before. I'll fire these at you. The first one being, refs have favourite teams.
Oh, absolutely not. No, couldn't care less. Couldn't care less who win. Like I say, it's about their careers. It's about them performing to the best of their abilities. So there's only one grand final, there's only one Challenge Cup final, and they all want them. So, to say that, oh yeah, I've got a favourite team here and I'm going to peel this T-shirt off and I've got a Wigan top on underneath it, just
no
whatsoever.
Okay, the second one. Refs are not accountable.
Oh, right. Well, refs are more accountable than players. These people that genuinely say refs aren't accountable obviously don't follow the appointments on a weekly basis. The refs get dropped far more than I feel they should do. I think they're hung, drawn and quartered for a mistake where players aren't. And it's because they got to show that, they are dropped, but people don't look at the appointments. They're not accountable. Well, hang on a minute, he didn't referee the following week. Oh, right, I didn't know that. So they're very accountable, and getting dropped or arrested is a real big come down for a referee, and I can assure you they hate it and work even harder to ensure that it doesn't happen again.
Excellent, thank you very much. So the third one, the disciplinary panel is made of people who haven't played the game.
Oh well, if you go on the RFL website, it'll tell you who the match review panels are, and I can assure you that they are outstanding ex-players, and one of them, well, a couple of them in particular, certainly like to throw the fists around at the time, so they will definitely know. I won't mention which two I'm talking about, but they will definitely know. Yeah. They will definitely know what foul play is like. But no, there's some unbelievably brilliant players on both panels, the side panel members and the match review panel, so they have definitely played the game.
So there's a couple of poachers turned gamekeepers.
Absolutely.
And I know there's a couple who've played a lot of games, have got a lot of experience of rugby league. So hopefully they're making the right decisions. And finally, and I think you touched upon this just earlier, the panel look at which player is up in front of them. And then they look at the team that they're playing the next week. And then they consider that before handing out the ban.
Yeah. Could you imagine that? Can you imagine the match review panel and the disciplinary when it goes to appeal? Thinking, right, I've got the fixtures here. My ex-team plays whoever next week. Oh yeah, if I give him a grade A and a B, then he'll ban and my ex-team might win. Oh God, that's probably one of the best conspiracy theories going. I like that one.
Well, it just becomes difficult when you've played for 3 former clubs instead of 1.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, when you've had more clubs than Jack Nicklaus, you've got a problem.
Particularly when there's only 10 teams in the top tier.